one? You want a better picture?
Yeah, let's see the gallery.
You do that.
Now, we should be on air right now, so I'm just going to just have a quick check on Facebook, first of all, to make sure that we are live. And if you are joining us on Facebook, hello and good evening. It's Thursday, and we have a great show lined up with Melanie Masson and Forbes Masson, who are joining us just very shortly live on air. So I'm just checking that I'm not talking to myself and that you are listening and you are watching. Let me just double check. And it looks like we're good to go. Looking good, guys. I can see a wee button that says live. That's good enough for me. And there we are, we're live. So we are live on air in front of, I don't know, probably 3 people at the moment. I don't know.
Hey, hello. 3
How are
people.
you guys doing, Melanie? Melanie, it's great to see you. And Forbes Masson, are you still in London, guys?
Yeah,
We
we're in
are,
London.
yes.
We've
Oh,
just
hello, doggy.
Oh, hello, Rusty. Come on, get down.
You have to be in everything.
We're about to go into tier 2 in London. So,
Yeah.
it's all going a bit crazy down here. But I'm actually coming up to Scotland tomorrow.
Are you? Which part
going-
of Scotland are you coming to?
I'm going up to Lewis because I've just got a part in a film and I'm going to be up there for a month. So
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be locked down in Lewis for a month.
Lewis no more.
Exactly.
I have to say, I'm in Lanarkshire, so we've been closed for the last. We're closed for 2 weeks. Pretty much everything. It's just crazy times just now. But I think we've just got to ride the storm. It's hitting the industry hard though, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'm just really lucky that I've got this job because things were desolate, and a lot of my mates are. It's really difficult for a lot of people. So as you say, we've just got to kind of knuckle down and get on with it. But it's really, really difficult. But anyway, what can you do? You've just got to take each day as it comes, I think. And
yes.
Lessons and all that. And hold
the last time that I saw you guys was in London, and it was at the Stan Ollie, not Stan Ollie, Laurel, the real Laurel and Hardy. When we put on a screening, and you brought the kids along. Now, the first time we saw the kids was on X Factor, Melanie. And they were tiny, and then they came along to the screening, and they'd grown quite a bit. How old are they now?
Well, they're now. My son is 11, and our daughter is 13.
What are you telling me? This is
exclusive
news.
So when I did the show, they were 3 and 5. And so that movie we saw the screening, it was absolutely brilliant. That was a few years ago now, Ross, wasn't it? That must have been about 5 years ago.
Do you know, there's been so much happening and over the last, it's been a whirlwind, and I try to pin things down, and but yeah, it must be about that. I mean, I think the Alex Norton was there, and he had hair, right. So it must have been a while ago.
It was absolutely brilliant, and the kids loved it. I mean, I think there was people like, so it was Alex Norton, and there was people like Paul Daniels was there as well, God bless his soul. And
it was one of Paul's last public appearances, actually.
Yeah.
Rhys
Shearsmith was there. And I think the thing that everyone was loving as well is that our 2 kids were laughing their heads off, absolutely giggling their heads off at the movie, and it was making everyone else laugh as well. And I can't remember who it was that said, I'll tell you who it was. It was Sylvester McCoy. Oops,
I thought you were going to say Sylvester Stallone there. I remember him being there.
So the dog's just brought his squeaky toy up. Sylvester McCoy was there, and he was sat in the same row as us, and he was saying what was lovely was how it reminded him when he was a boy and the first time he saw Laurel and Hardy. Enjoying our kids enjoying it reminded him of giggling, and it was a great night actually. It was so good.
It was really good just to see the films on the big screen
with
an audience, because normally, I mean, I grew up with them being on telly on a Saturday morning, so I don't think I've ever seen them in the cinema, and it was just so amazing to be around people and hearing other people laugh, and it was great to see that the films still stand up. They're just classic
and still appeal to all different generations. I mean, there was everybody of all ages, plus the kids were the youngest people there, And
Yeah, 3 generations. We had kids, we had parents and grandparents. Was Johnny Vegas in that audience when you were there?
I don't know. He might have been, but we didn't
No,
see him. He wasn't in the green room
I
with us.
didn't see him in the green room. No,
Well,
he was
yeah,
in the
David Jason, was David Jason there? So
No, Jim Moore was there.
Vic Reeves, he was
right,
there.
right. So that was the second one, I think. So
Yeah.
when we did the first one, Johnny Vegas was there, and Sir David Jason, and we had Terry Jones, and Reese was there again. But you know, when you mention about laughter being contagious, Johnny Vegas was laughing his head off, and people were laughing at him laughing. And laughter really is contagious, isn't it? I mean, it's the best medicine when you're feeling down, I think. And I run the Laurel and Hardy Twitter account, and the response to that during this whole lockdown sort of, you know, drama, it's been a godsend to a lot of people, you know.
Well, you know, they're the classic comics that were around in the Depression. Their comedy was there when people were really, really, really low. And that's why their comedy is, you know,
uplifting.
And also Stan Laurel was a genius. So was Oliver Hardy, but Stan particularly was just such a kind of full of the work ethic and meticulous. And I mean, I played Stan centuries and centuries and centuries ago. I did Tom McGrath's play about Laurel and Hardy.
I was about to bring that up actually, because you've played Stan Laurel actually more than once. Tell us about the Tom McGrath play, and who was in that with you.
I got an actor called Ronnie Simon, and it was directed by my friend Jerry Ramage, and we did that in the assembly rooms at the Edinburgh Festival, and then we were invited to take that on tour. We went to New Zealand. We went to the Wellington Festival in New Zealand, and it's a brilliant wee play. It's all set in the afterlife, and it's all set with Laurel and Hardy. Stan Laurel's waiting for Oliver to appear, and then they go through their lives, and there's little vignettes from their lives, from some of the biographies, and then there's scenes from some of the films. And then at the very end, they do the dance, and they go through the saloon doors, and that's them going off into heaven. And it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful little one-act play. And Ronnie and I had a great time doing it. But that was in the 1990, I think we did that. And then on the strength of that, I was a casting director saw me, sorry, dog's barking. A casting director saw me in that, and then I got a part in Red Dwarf, where I got to play a wax droid version of Stan Laurel, which was very silly and good fun.
You know, it's funny. It's funny the dog barking, because
it's
almost like laughing gravy. Like the dog's not supposed to be there. Put him in the cupboard. Like Laurel and Hardy would do. When you mentioned Tom McGrath's play, I do remember seeing that play. Steve Nichol and Barnaby Tower were in the roles,
right.
and also
at the Lyceum, I think, yeah.
Yes, it was at the Lyceum in Edinburgh, and Andy Gray has played Oliver Hardy, and he's another big fan.
That's right, he has. Oh, Mel's going to sort him out now. No, I had a great time, and it was fantastic, because it was a good excuse just to watch all the films again and really kind of study them. And I really kind of got a sense of Stan's kind of striving and his, you know, his genius, his comedy genius, you know.
Now, were you influenced in any way by Laurel and Hardy working with Alan? Because Alan Cumming, when you did Victor and Barry, was there any influence? I mean, being a double act, I think every double act is influenced in some way by them, aren't they?
I think so. I mean, obviously, as I said, I grew up with Oliver and Stan on telly when I was a kid. Saturday morning telly, that was it. And you would watch them, and I've got this really strong kind of, you know, that thing where you hear music and it kind of conjures up a feeling in you. You know, it's something. It's not just a feeling; it's like a sense of something. And I can hear that music, that kind of, you know, that kind of muted trumpet that you hear in the background of Laurel and Hardy. And it's on a loop, because it was the days that they could just loop music on it, and you didn't have to have a piano player there. It was the first days of the talkies. But all that music really kind of stirs something up from my kind of childhood, and it gives you a really warm glow. And yeah, obviously there must be something of that kind of comic influence when Alan and I were working together. And I think one of the other kind of things that really inspired us was I saw Francie and Josie. My parents were a bit older, and they used to take me to a lot of theatre when I was a wee boy, and used to go and see pantomimes in Glasgow. And I can remember seeing Francie and Josie, and And then, you know, my dad always talking about them, and I think that was the thing, that Glasgow patter. Obviously, Victor and Barry's patter was a bit more refined, but I definitely know that I took Victor had a kiss curl, and I think I definitely know that I took something from Ricky, because Ricky had a wee curl on top of his head.
Yes.
I remember referencing that, and also initially Victor and Barry had red and blue dressing gowns, because we used to wear, it was like we were at the drama school at the time, and we thought that we should be effete, you know, in the amateur dramatics, and they should wear dressing gowns like Noel Coward. So we had red and blue were our colours, so they were the red and blue of Francie and Josie. There was definitely something. And I can remember late on, Alan and I did a thing for some kind of New Year's show for STV, and we did a sort of pick of the year of comedy, and we included a clip of Francie and Josie when they made their comeback. And I remember Jack Milroy came up to me at the Tron bar one night and was telling, you know, saying, thanking me so much for us remembering him. And I was just so gobsmacked to meet Jack Milroy, because he was just one of my heroes. Also, I got to work with Ricky a couple of times. I did one of my first shows. I did Peter Pan up at Perth Rep. He was Captain Hook, and I played he also played Mr. Darling, and I played his son. And then I did A Wee Touch of Class with him as well, which was a Molière show. And I had a lot of fondness for him, and he had a lot of, he gave me a lot of support in the early days. So yeah, that's from going from Laurel and Hardy to Francie and Josie.
Yeah, but those guys you mentioned were the sort of last of the Scottish vaudeville, sort of the music hall era.
Yeah.
It was Johnny Beattie, who we just lost recently.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw Laurel and Hardy live, actually, at the Empire in Glasgow, which is just phenomenal. And I would have loved the opportunity to talk to Johnny. We're making a documentary about Laurel and Hardy, and we're talking to people who have been influenced by them, and we must get a chat to you at some point, Forbes.
Yeah. Why do you, what brought you to Laurel and Hardy? Was it just as a kid, the same thing as me? Or?
Well, I'll give you a clue, right? First of all, there was this. At school and everywhere I went for years, everybody, when I had hair, it was even. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Yeah, and what a lot of people don't know is Stan had red hair, and so you fit the bill perfectly there. But with the films being in black and white, people didn't.
Yeah, I know that's it.
This, but I grew up with them at the same, probably almost the same era, really. Growing up, they were on the double bill on BBC Two when 5:40 around that time, and it would be Harold Lloyd and Flash Gordon, and then it would be the Laurel and Hardy double bill. And so I grew up with them, and again, it's that thing about watching your mum and your dad laughing at them, and that sticks with you, and it gives you memories of that time. And a lot of people do say that they love Laurel and Hardy because it reminds them of their grandparents or whoever, and the great thing is they've passed it down. They've kept their memory alive. I mean, some of these films are almost 100 years old.
Oh, no.
And they're still as popular today. So it's incredible. And so with the new film coming out, Stan and Ollie, did you get to see that, you guys? Did you?
I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Are you scared to see it, Forbes?
You know what? I'm kind of scared to see it because I think it'll upset me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm slightly worried about, because I think, I'm a huge fan of Steve's, and I know he's done an amazing job. But I think the story is going to upset me a bit.
Do you know what? I've seen it, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It made me cry. It definitely did, and it's just without giving anything away. That you will cry, Forbes, if you want.
I know. But it
So,
just gives an amazing insight into the partnership and the relationship, the dynamic between the two, and the events that surrounded them, and what happened. There was so much in there that I didn't know about, and I thought it was beautifully portrayed by both of those actors, and I loved everything about it. I just thought it looked beautiful. It was filmed beautifully. The story was just so well done. I absolutely loved it. And actually, I keep saying we must sit down and watch that with the kids, because the kids would love it too.
Absolutely, and it's on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it at home. It's definitely worth it. And from a technical point of view as well, the makeup and John C. Reilly is just incredible.
You worked on it, didn't you? You did with some.
Yeah, I was a consultant on it.
Yeah, no, I saw that. That's great.
And I got John Baird's put me in it for about 1 second. with a herbal ciggy in my mouth. It was in the 50s. And I remember at the time, you're not allowed to smoke on set, and I was a smoker, and I had they kept giving me these herbal cigarettes, so I started smoking them. Oh, they were terrible. It was enough to put you off smoking anyway. So, but yeah, what a great experience that was. I loved every second of being involved and finished product and getting to go to the premiere and stuff. You guys know what it's like. It's great to go to these things, And,
John's a really, really good director. He's a really great guy as well. He's great.
Fantastic. And there was an after party on the last day of shooting, and about 11 o'clock the after party finished, and I thought that was it. I was in a hotel for the night, and I was just getting ready to leave, and John grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, and he says, "Hang on, you're coming with us," and he threw me in the back of a minibus. This is 11 o'clock at night, and I didn't really know where we were going, and we ended up in Brighton at Steve Coogan's house.
Oh.
The games had just begun. And
rock and roll.
Do you know these old Scottish parties they used to have at Hogmanay, where you would have people would come round to the house, and it was always somebody would work the record player in the corner. They were the DJ for the night. But at this party, that was John C. Reilly. He was the man in the corner doing the sounds, and it was just brilliant. It was surreal, but it was great. But Melanie, how long has it been now since you won it? Well, you did. I know you didn't win the grand final, but you were a finalist, and you did so well. You blew the judges away with that first edition. How long has that been?
That's 8 years ago. That was
8 years ago. Now, what's been happening in your life since then? I know you've got a single out. We're going to talk about that. But what was the follow up? The sort of after you made that first experience, and you made that first what's the word I'm looking for? When the first episode went out and you got that exposure, what was the feedback like? And since then,
it was a mad experience. It was amazing. I mean, it was a very positive experience. First of all, after that first episode aired, overnight things went completely mad. It's literally like overnight you just go out in the street and everybody, you can't walk down the street without being recognized. I mean, it's crazy because at that point when I was on 8 years ago, they were having those massive viewing figures. It was still kind of at its peak. And even though, it took me a long time to decide to actually do the show, because I had a career before then. I'd grown up in the industry. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, everyone, we were like total showbiz, born in a trunk Von Trapp family. Everybody was in the business. And so I started at a very early age, performing, singing, dancing. I went to drama school, and then I was really just lucky. I went from job to job. I did a lot of West End. I was signed to EMI. I did my own album. I sang on dance records, and I toured. I did session work. I worked with Pink and Kasabian and Norman Cook and all kinds of people. So I was kind of a jobbing performer, and made my living out of it. And then when Forbes and I met, got married, had kids and everything, I just wanted to, as you do, want to be with the kids. So I took about 4 years out, I would say, and did my little under fives kids class, and got the opportunity to audition. So they have these, it's no secret that they have scouted auditions, which means that people go around the country, talent scouts, looking for, people from all walks of life to audition, as well as those big, massive open auditions. And my friend was a manager and said, he knows a talent scout that's looking for people, and they wanted to make it a little bit more professional in my year because The Voice had just happened. So there was a lot of comparisons between, the contestants on The Voice and X Factor. So they decided to look at, people that had careers and that kind of thing. So I went along, and most of my year we're all at the same audition. We all went to
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to have to get the plug for the computer.
Low battery on the charge.
I'll just carry on.
Spotted. So we all went along to Stephen Street to ITV Studios, and I sang for the producers. I'd already sent in my music and my show reel or whatever. And I got a phone call a few days later saying, we'd like you to sing for the judges. And I swear to God, my response was, oh. And a lovely woman on the end of the phone was so sweet. And she said, you know, Melanie, that's not the usual response we get when we say to people, you can sing in front of the judges. And I went, you know what, I don't mean to be ungrateful or anything like that. It's an amazing, you know, opportunity. But because I've had a career in the industry and made my living for it, and I do want to go back at some point, I was just, you know, you're worried about, because it's reality TV, it's a double-edged sword. You never know how it's going to go. If it all went wrong, I thought I'd never work again, or that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I took about 4 weeks to decide. They were so lovely, said, take your time. Everyone else we've approached, you know, I've done stuff in the industry. Asked loads of people, asked the mister. And, you know, people basically said, you've been out for a while, out of the industry for a while. Why not? You know, what's going to happen? You know, and then I thought, you know what? I'm going to sing my best. I'm not, you know, I'll try not to disgrace myself. If I'm not right for the show, I'm not, you know. So I just went for it. And it was actually the best decision I'd ever made in the end, because it just opened up so many doors. It was an amazing platform. It gave me a lovely fan base. And so many opportunities. So for me, it was such a positive experience, but it is a crazy whirlwind. It's like nothing you can ever really explain. You know, it's just mad. But for me, it's brilliant.
Who chose your audition song?
Me, of course.
I think I'll do something with a bit of range in it.
Listen, I thought it might be the only chance I get to sing for them, so I'm just going to sing. I just thought I'll sing one of my favourite songs for one of my favourite artists, so it's totally me. And I thought, and you never know, you know, I thought they might stop me after the first couple of lines, so I might as well make the first note a good one. You know, so that was my thinking behind it. So.
Oh, there can't be anything more to put you off more than Simon doing that, and when you've just started the song, you know.
Oh, that must be all. Thank God that didn't happen to me. And also I had Gary, because Simon, X Factor US was still happening, and that was running parallel times with the UK. So he was off doing that. So Gary was the head judge, and Gary Barlow ended up being my mentor. So thankfully, I got through the whole song without one of those. Yep, thanks. That would have been awful.
Now, Forbes, I remember the kids being there, but were you hidden? Were you there?
Not on the first one.
Not in the first. I wasn't at the first one. No, I was working. I think I was at the RSC or something. I was doing something at the time.
Forbes was away, and what was meant to happen was I was meant to audition in London, because we live in London, but I had a really bad chest infection, had just come on. I couldn't speak, so I missed all the London auditions. So because I'm from Glasgow, I went up to Glasgow, and I auditioned in Glasgow. Basically, they rearranged my date, and Forbes was working, so that's why he wasn't at my first audition.
I wasn't at the first one,
but my friends and family were all there. So and the kids, I went up with the kids. So yeah.
The reason I was asking was because at that point, Forbes, obviously, certainly most of us in Scotland are very aware of you and your career. I had no idea at the point when you were on, Melanie, that you guys were married, or didn't even click with the name. And then after I found out and I watched it back to see if you were there, Forbes, it sort of, the camera would show the kids, but it never showed the person behind the kids. And I thought, I was just wondering if that was deliberate. You know, I thought they didn't want to show that you.
No, I mean, I wasn't on their, you know, their radar at all, really. I didn't. There was stuff later on when we did stuff around the house.
Yeah.
We sort of had an inkling that maybe something was going to happen. We weren't sure, because they come and do, you know, they come and visit your home and they speak to you in the home. And I was a bit nervous about that. I'm a bit more cooler about it now, because that's all we can do now is just stream from our home. Yeah. But at the time I was going, I don't want cameras in the house. I was like, you know. But anyway, at the time they came round, and it was all very odd. And then we had Ollie Murs was in the house, and he was getting his hair cut in our kitchen, and it was all a bit weird. And then we thought, oh, what does this mean? Are you going to get further on the show?
Well, you still kept guessing, because you never know. I mean, they I suppose in hindsight, they filmed me so much, and they, before you find out you're in the live shows, you know, before you do boot camp, before you go to judges' houses, you know, there was a lot of kind of filming and backstory and that sort of thing. And you kind of hope this must be a good sign, but you don't really know. And you know how they like to build the drama and the tension. And you don't know whether you're just kind of somewhere along in the storyline or if you're genuinely considered, you know, on the show. So, but that was really funny, that instance with Ollie Murs, because we were filming for the Extra Factor when it was him and Caroline Flack, you know, God bless her. And Forbes came through from the kitchen and he went, here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Ollie Murs is getting his hair cut in our kitchen. Because Ollie Murs, he knocked on the door and I opened the door to him and went, hi. And there was him. He's really tall, actually. There was him. There was his publicist, his manager. There was like 3 cameramen. There was like the director. They all came into our living room. And at that point, our kids were really young, 3 and 5. So our living room was just filled with toys and little things and Lego and dolls and cars, you know what I mean? It still is, but you know, they're older now, so we've got a better handle on tidying. But you're on a table right now. The laptop's on a table now. This is a square table. We call it the craft table, but basically it's just loads of stuff at the sides. And when we knew the cameramen were coming, we went, just shove everything onto the table. We'll shove everything onto this table, all the little bits, the jigsaws, the dolls, the Lego, the duplex, all the rest of it, the crayons, the half-chewed crayons, you know, everything, felt pens, under the table, quick hoover, right, we're done.
I do that every time I've got visitors coming to the house. That's what it's.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but the first thing they did was they came in, they looked around the living room and went, can we just move that table? And me and Dwarf, we like broke into a cold sweat and went, oh my God. Oh my God. And they pulled the table and it was a mountain of crap that spilled out all over the floor. And we're going, oh
shameful.
No, how did that get there?
And I was going, see, told you the camera shouldn't come in this house. We're exposed.
But you know what?
The slobs that we are.
There was one of the things that was quite funny was, in some way, I mean, I was lucky because we were living in a hotel in London. My year, for some reason, was the first year that we stayed in a hotel.
It was like you were in lockdown.
It was exactly like lockdown. And instead they usually have a big house that they all stay at, but we were at the Corinthian Hotel, which was totally posh. I mean, it was very, very posh. And but you know what, I could nip home for 40, you know, it was like 40 minutes away from home. I could, you know, get anyway. So literally you have no control over what's going on in your life during that period. You know, we took over an entire 2 floors of the Corinthian for all the contestants and all production. And they have an itinerary for each contestant. And this is the lead up to live shows. So you don't know what you're doing for 1 minute from the next. So you've got to always be camera ready, because you're going to get a knock on the door that you've got to do filming for X Factor, you've got to do filming for Extra Factor, you've got all the socials to do. So, you know, at any given point, you're getting a knock on your door, you've got to do this. I got a knock on my door, right, you've got to come with me, you're getting a facial, you're getting your eyebrows dyed, you're getting this done, you're getting that done, you've got to get a photo shoot. It sounds very glamorous. So one day I got a knock on my hotel door, and this woman goes, oh, I just need to scrub you down for a fake tan. I was like, oh, okay. She went, okay, so strip off and we'll go in the shower. I was like, okay. So I'm in the shower with this woman. She's got a mitt and she's scrubbing my body. And it was only when she left, I thought, I really hope she's part of X Factor, because, you know, I didn't even ask for ID. I don't know who, I didn't even get her name. And I'm standing naked in the shower with this woman getting a scrub down. But you get you get so used to being prodded and pulled, and you're going this way and you're going that way. And it's a certain sense of freedom, because you don't have the responsibility of going, right, go do this to the kids, this to the kids, you know, do that. You're just like going, okay, I'll do all right. You know, you're being pushed and pulled. But certainly an experience.
You know, it's funny that I remember lying. I just moved into this house. What's a year now? I moved back to Airdrie, and I've been in the house a year. And I'd only just been here a month or so, and I was lying in my bed one morning. Hadn't locked the front door that night. it's nothing unusual. So anyway, I'm lying in bed and I woke up and there's a woman at the foot of my bed.
No.
Oh.
Right now, a woman standing at the foot of the bed, and now my name's Miller. That's my own name out of the bit. Ross Owen is my profession. My own name is Miller. She says, Mr. Miller. I go, yeah. She says, I'm here to cut your toenails. I says,
What?
hang on a sec. And I kind of open my eyes again. Remember, she's at the foot of my bed in my bedroom. And she says, I'm here to cut your toenail. I says, what are you talking about? She says, yeah, don't you get them done every month? I says, does it look like these talons have been done every month? You know? And she's like, are you sure? She said. I said, I'm positive. How did you get in? She said, the door was open. I said, what? Open? No, she said it was unlocked. I says, but turns out there's a Mr. Miller next door, exact same name. He's in the wrong house.
Oh my God.
I should have waited until she'd done my nails and then told her I could have got a free manicure. But
That's so weird.
It sounds like something at Limmy's show.
she argued with me. Yeah, are you sure? Are you sure you're not Mr. Miller? I'm like, I'm positive. Well, I am, but I'm not the one you're looking for. But it was just when you said about the woman in the shower, it just reminded me.
With his big funny toes.
Lovely feet. He's
No,
getting
not
a
that
manicure.
day. Not that day. Did he get his manicure that month?
He's obviously getting them done every
Crawling
month.
in the floor.
That sounds like a horror film.
It
though.
does.
I've come
Come
to
do
cut
your
your
nails.
toenails
Come and do
for
your
my
nails.
collection.
I put it on Facebook, and nobody actually believed it at the time. They thought I was just trying to be funny. And when I met people after it, and they said, "Did that really happen?" I said, "Yeah, it really happened." I still see the woman going in next door to this day. She still goes in.
You know, isn't it? It's that thing about people just going in people's houses.
Yeah.
The door. Yeah, I'll just go in.
Doesn't happen down here though. Doesn't happen in London though, does it?
Oh no. Although
no.
we've got great neighbours.
We've got great neighbours,
great
but I mean,
neighbours.
when we've been up to like the Isle of Mull, where we love, and we've not been for years. I mean, nobody. It's just so.
Yeah, but that was like that in Falkirk. I mean, when I lived in Falkirk,
yeah, a long time
you know,
ago.
no,
though,
I know,
think.
but
But back in the day,
I'm not that old. Thank you very much.
back in the day, even
Back in the 1800s, we didn't have doors. We had no doors.
When
we
we
just
had chalk and
big
slate.
curtain.
When you used to
a little curtain. And
powdered
go,
egg.
"Come
have some powdered egg.
in, you'll have had your tea. Oh my God.
Let me crank up the
No,
radio.
what I'm saying is that it's a custom. It's a sort of thing that people just come in and eat each other's houses.
Yeah.
It's probably a kind of working class thing as well, you know.
yeah, like we mentioned, it,
Open and
Yeah,
friendly,
I mean,
and, you know.
when everybody used to come into each other's houses all the time. It's not
Not to do your nails.
not to do your nails.
At least she wasn't clipping them at the time, you know.
Imagine you walking up and you were like, "Hey, I'm doing your nails, Mr. Miller.
And
Big toe now."
weird dream, you know. I couldn't believe it. Honestly,
It's a dream.
and the fact that she argued about it. Are you sure you're not? I'm positive. Absolutely. But anyway, that was crazy.
Hang on a minute. If she's cutting this man's nails every week,
She
month,
must
would you
know.
not have recognised
She must-
that you weren't him?
I think she was the new person taking over. and we're all,
He was lying on his back. He was always on his back. She knew the shape of his arse.
What do you think she got his nails like a horse or something like that?
I don't know.
Like holding him up
She
like
sat on him. She sat on him. Pulled his leg up.
Like a horse.
She never looked. Just cut his hand. Doing that. The big nails.
she's into the-
He's very
That is random. That's like some weird Scottish fairy tale.
The nail
old
cutter.
lady who cuts the nails. You be careful, son. You better go to sleep. Or the old lady who cuts your nails will come and get you. She'll think you're Mr. Miller.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
She still goes in next door and does his nails, so she must be
Oh
good.
my God.
But anyway, had there been a massage or something, I would have said I was him.
Your fault.
Anyway, Melanie, I want to ask you about after X Factor, then that period, about what you've been doing and the lead up to the new single. Tell us a bit about that.
Right. So when you come out of X Factor, you're still signed to a certain amount of time to Cycle. But
That's
then
the
you
record label.
Oh yeah, Cycle. Yeah, Cycle's the record label. Simon Cowell, and to ITV. So you're on the show really from the February right through to the December. And then you do kind of like various tours and gigs and all sorts of contractual things, which was absolutely brilliant. And then I did lots of concerts, did lots of great things. Like I got to play at the Albert Hall. I did a musical at the Theatre Royal in Stratford. David Baddiel musical called The Infidel, which was great fun.
Was David Schneider involved in that? Was David Schneider involved in that as well?
No, he wasn't, but I think he might have been in the movie, because
the movie version. Yeah,
this was a stage production of the movie, the adaptation, and that Omad Jalili was in. He played the part in that. And that was great because I had done lots of West End musicals way before X Factor, so it was nice to do that again. Did a few pantos, did the Glasgow SECC with John Barrowman and the Crankies, that was great fun. Did lots and lots of concerts, and then I signed a label. I signed to a record label, who I was with for about nearly 5 years actually, and recorded an album. But it was amazing, and I worked with the producer of my dreams that I'm still working with. But it was quite a slow process because they were sort of based half in LA and half here, so it was kind of logistically quite challenging, should we say.
Yeah.
So I decided to think, you know what, I think it might be time to kind of cut the ties and just go for it myself. So we very amicably decided to split. And I thought, you know what, 2020 is the time. I got free of the contract in April. And I thought, with everything that's going on in the world and everything being so whatever it is, I thought now is the time to just be brave and, grab the bull by the horns and just do it and just go for it and just do it myself. So I've done that. I set up my own label, got my own distribution company, did everything from the artwork through to the video to, Simone Labib, who's one of my best friends, the actress Simone Labib, another great Scottish girl who's now in EastEnders actually. She directed the video. And I put it all together, got my own female band and just did loads of things that I didn't think I would do. Having to sort of make a lot of compromise, or not sometimes, I think quite often, not to get all kind of get the sexism thing on, or all of that, or feminist on it. But sometimes as a female, you're not always heard. You don't always have your voice heard, particularly when it's quite a male dominated company. And you don't always get to say that, do you know what, I'm not really feeling this, or how about if we do this or that. You're quite often overridden in a way. So to be able to just, do or die, take the reins, do it myself, make my own decisions. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Has been so freeing and liberating and cathartic. So I've loved that whole process. And the icing on the cake has really been the response to the single, to the video, and the reviews and the media and the press. And basically, I've been doing this from our kitchen table, usually in my knickers, and with a cup of coffee on the go.
Sometimes in my knickers.
Sometimes in my knickers. And the dog on my lap, and basically just, I would say beg, borrow and stealing, but I didn't steal, but, begging and borrowing and hustling and just being busy and being brave and that's been amazing.
I think that is the way now. I think creativity like that and doing it on your own is definitely the way forward. I mean, everybody's doing it. I mean, even if you think back, Justin Bieber was a YouTuber, wasn't he? And so there's hope for me yet. So I think that everybody's. But I mean, I'm doing my own thing. I mean, I would never. I could spend years and years and years trying to get on the radio or trying to present a show, interviewing lovely people like yourself. Here I'm doing it, and I'm doing it all myself. It's definitely the way forward. The great thing about the internet is, and you've got access to everybody, direct access. If somebody writes a bad story about you, you can just go up there and nip it in the bud yourself, because people know it's coming from the horse's mouth. And it's the same with projects like this. You full control to do what you like to do. Now, when does the single actually come out? What's the single called, and where can people hear it in the meantime? Because there's a video.
Yes, there is. So it's called Why Don't You Love Me? And it's out now. So it's available on the usual platforms. It's on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, and Amazon. And if you kind of Google me, it's Melanie Masson, M-A-S-S, two S's. Quite often we get Mason, don't we? But it's Masson. There's an ass in there. A-S-S. Outrageous.
It could be worse. They could be calling you the Mansons.
I did get that once.
Yeah,
I did get that once. I had Melanie Manson. I got Marilyn Manson. I got once.
In a review, I was once called Florence Matheson. So that was interesting.
I did a gig, right, and there was a host, a presenter, and I heard him introduce me saying, coming up, I'm delighted to present Melanie Masson. So I said to him afterwards, I said, thanks so much. He gave me this lovely kind of spiel and everything. I said, thanks so much for that. I said, but just to let you know, it's Mass and you like ass. Melanie Masson. He went, great, Melanie Masson, Melanie Masson, Melanie Masson. And I saw him I was standing in the wings waiting for him to, announce me. And he was going, Melanie Masson, Melanie Masson, Melanie Masson. Ladies and gentlemen, Melanie Masson!
Do you remember Phil Poole? By the way, nobody gets it wrong better than John Travolta. His was a belter, wasn't it?
Oh, that was classic.
Idina Menzel.
Yeah, that was brilliant. He tried to get out of it. But she got him back. I think she did it back at a different ceremony.
What was he called? I still laugh at that. No, there was a name. What he said was they had written it out on the auto cue phonetically because they didn't think he'd be able to read it. So that confused him, he said, and what was the name? It's such a ridiculous name.
I can't remember exactly what he said.
But anyway, just while we're on the subject, Why Don't You Love Me? It's my interpretation of it's a kind of lesser known Beyonce songs. It's not one of her big kind of like single ladies. It's a cover of a song she had in an album years and years ago. And although I've written all the other tracks on my album, this was a cover that, I don't know, it just spoke to me. I just thought I could do, hers is an amazing, disco-tastic, fabulous Beyonce track. But mine is kind of like, it's a Northern Soul.
Brilliant.
Version, which is kind of what I love, Northern Soul, classic soul. And I worked with a producer that I absolutely love called Tristan Longworth, and it is totally his thing. It's all live musicians, and it just sounds, I'm so proud of it and so pleased with it. And he's great. He's somebody I've been wanting to work with for years. I heard him, the first thing I heard that he did was he produced a track called Mercy, which was a cover version of Duffy. It was a band called The Third Degree. And I heard it on the radio, and I actually started to question whether Duffy had done a cover version of this old classic 60s track. It was so authentic sounding. And when I heard it was a cover produced by this guy, I was like, I tracked him down, and I've been trying to work with him for years, and I sent him my stuff. And anyway, I just joked to him that I had to go on X Factor to get a budget to get him to work with me. But
you mean to get that authentic sound that you were looking for, which let's face it, I mean, it's hard to recreate that authentic sound. But I know exactly what you mean. The first time I heard Valerie by Amy Winehouse, I thought it was an old song.
Yeah, well, Mark Ronson, he's a genius. He's got the same thing, but I think Tristan is like that because it, like you say, it's hard to recreate it if you don't live and breathe that sort of music, if you don't know the history of it, if you don't know the mechanics of it, if you don't know how it's put together and who's playing in what record. I mean, Tristan is obsessed by sounds, by who played what and what record at what era, and what hi-hat was used in 1965 and blah blah. And I almost think you have to have that much obsession to get total authenticity, and it's not like he's 96, he's a
but it's not like it's some sort of a copy. It's got a soul and a life
of
its own as well.
Exactly.
It's like what we're saying about Stan Laurel. It's the same thing. It's the same thing about genius and dedication and meticulousness about what you're focusing in on.
That's right, and I think that's what I have always strived or striven, what was the word? Striven to do, is that I the people that
Excuse me, sorry, it's Strathaven.
That's right, Strathaven.
Do you know, I'm just going to say what I want to do is just, you know, the people that I really admire and I'm inspired by are the singers who sing with complete honesty. It's not affected. It's raw. It's real. If they're singing about heartbreak, it's like sobbing. If they're singing about joy, it's raunch. It's growl. It's power. It's not restrained. It's not over compressed. It's not overproduced.
Auto-tuned.
It's not. And all of
One-
that has
one
its
great-
place.
No, it has its place.
All
course
of
it
that
does,
has
yeah.
its place, and I'm
Of course
not
it
knocking that. That's an effect, and
No.
I like all kinds of music. But for me, that's how I want to be. I want to sing with total passion and
And you do.
authenticity, and
Mhm.
and I think that with the right production and the right music, I'm hoping that that's kind of what is reaching people and is touching people, because it's honest and it's what I totally.
It really is. And there's nothing came out of Scotland like you and your type of music, Melanie, in a long, long time. I think back, and I think maybe Maggie Bell, Frankie Miller, and these are that's my favourite music. You know, I mean, I'm a massive Frankie Miller fan, and to this day, and obviously you've inspired Janis Joplin. But coming from Scotland, there's not a lot of, well, I nearly said Rod Stewart there, but he doesn't really fit in other.
We've adopted Rod Stewart, haven't we?
Yeah, but it's but listen, we do really wish you well with the single, Melanie. We're not finished with you guys yet, because Forbes, a couple of things I want to ask you. And I've got Cameron has come on. Cameron comes to all the live shows that we were doing on stage, and he's always got a question for my guests. So I'm going to bring Cameron in just now, and then Forbes, I'd like to ask you a couple of wee things about some of your acting work, and if that's okay. Let me just try and bring Cameron in. Cameron, I hope you're listening and that you're prepared for this. There we go.
Hey, Cameron.
Hi, Cameron.
Cameron, you're on the air right now with Melanie and Forbes Masson. What's your question, pal?
Hi, Melanie. What was it like to be on the X Factor? Did you enjoy the experience?
I did. Hi, Cameron. Nice to virtually meet you. I did enjoy it. You know what I would say? I'd say it's not for the faint-hearted. It's a lot harder than you think, because I think we touched on this earlier, that you're on camera, like your film's almost 24 hours. There's always something going on. You're working till really late. You're up very early. It's non-stop. It's a very well-oiled machine. But for me, I loved it. It was crazy. It was wild. It was a trip. But for me, it was a really positive experience.
I'm still gobsmacked about the live shows, because I came to see you in the audience, and I was I mean, I'm on stage all my life, you know, and that doesn't really bother me that much. But I was absolutely terrified for you, because I knew you were being screened live to all these whole, and it was the most terrifying thing that I could have ever imagined doing. And you were so cool, and you were just so amazing, and I'm just so proud of you when you did it.
Aww.
It was just the most amazing thing to see you do that.
Thank you. Oh, I think you kind of get.
I agree. And
Oh,
I was just going to say, we were also so patriotic when you were on, you know, and the fact that you just put them, because I thought they were a bit cheeky. The way they tried to make you look a wee bit silly at the beginning. They tried to do what they did with Susan Boyle. Oh, I'm a fairy god.
Yeah.
Mother, I'm just this person and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a fairy godmother, but it was a great way to set up the fact that you just came on and blew everybody away with that voice.
It's a TV show, you know.
That's it. And
they have a structure to it.
Yeah.
But,
of course, I've got to build up
I mean, they you know, obviously they edit a lot down, but I think I don't know. It's funny, because I remember, particularly for the first live show, I remember stepping on the stage, and they run your little VT, you know, before your song. And I remember standing in the wings, and everyone's preening you like spraying you and brushing you and fiddling with you and stuff. And you just kind of want to get into that zone. And I remember they take you out, and I was on a plinth for the first one. And just before the music started, the audience was completely dark while they were running the VT. And they shone a spotlight on Forbes and the kids, because I didn't know the kids were in the audience. And I thought that was such a sweet thing for them to do, because the exec producer must have just put a light, and they just shot and just showed me the family, which was so sweet. And Gary was sat there going like that, come on. And I remember just thinking, I was more nervous before when I was waiting to go on, but when I stood in that plinth, I don't know, I was just kind of possessed by this feeling of, I want to show you what I can do. I wasn't feeling nervous. I was just thinking, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. And I loved the song. And when I saw the kids and Forbes and the family, and I just thought, I'm going to really enjoy this. And I did. And that was actually one of my favorite moments.
See that you were enjoying it, and I think that again, it's that thing. You know what it's like, guys, being performers. If you are nervous, the audience will sense that, and they'll feel uncomfortable watching you. But whereas if you've got that confidence, and which you had by the, I mean, it was just incredible. I think everybody watching the show that night, and it's hard to come across. I think it's hard. It's hard enough to put that across in front of a live audience, Forbes, isn't it? But let alone for it to come through the television, you know, with the same sort of impact, which it did.
It was an extraordinary performance.
Oh, thank you.
Cameron, does that answer your question, or is there anything else you would like to ask Forbes?
That answers my question.
Cameron, are you thinking about going for a reality show?
Not really, no.
No.
What would you do if you were on Britain's Got Talent, Cameron? What would your talent be?
Yay!
It's doing Stan Laurel. Well, if you do that, you'll be a winner, mate. You can just keep up the good work. Stay safe, and it's always nice to see you, Cameron.
You too.
Cheers, Cameron.
Thanks for the question.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Cameron. You're welcome to hang fire in the room, or you can watch online.
I'll stay in the room.
Okay.
Continue watching.
You're welcome. Thanks, Cameron.
Goodbye.
Cameron there with this question. Now, Forbes, let me just ask you a few questions. You guys know about River City here in Scotland?
Yeah.
And there was a big storyline just before lockdown. The McLean sisters done away with this corrupt policeman.
Ooh.
Now, this corrupt policeman was grooming the daughter of one of the girls, and this is what led to his demise. Because he made her pregnant, and she was underage, and blah blah blah. Now, we spoke to the actor Doug Rankin, who played that part, about the challenges of playing a part like that. It is only a part, and the response you get in the street. So, Forbes, what was it like for you? Because you did Eastenders in a similar situation. You know, how did it affect you sort of in the real world? Did people give you a tough time?
I was when I signed up for it, the storyline was going in a certain direction initially, and I wasn't sure where it was going to end up. But then once I was on board, I saw that the story was going further than I realised it was going to go, which was slightly unnerving at the time. I suddenly thought, oh goodness, this could be problematic. And I can remember one of the exec producers at the time calling me into the office to have a chat with me, because they'd had trouble with, there'd been a character before, and I can't remember who it was, but he got attacked or something in the street or something for the storyline, because he'd sort of hurt someone or something in this guy. So they were all, the company, BBC, the EastEnders lot, were really, really on it and really aware of how these dangerous storylines can go. But actually, once we got into it, I was amazed at the response of people that they could have realised. I got a lot of mail from people saying, thank you for bringing up this sort of storyline. And, you know, because this is happening so much, and, you know, handled so well, handled so well. And from that point of view, it was, I got a lot of kind of feedback from people that was positive about my skills as an actor, as opposed to being perceived to be something in reality, which is good. Also, I mean, the weirdest thing about being on EastEnders is a bit like that X Factor thing. I remember when the first episode went out, and I was still a good guy at that point. But I remember the difference between, sorry, I just have to put my phone off. Sorry. I was just walking down the street in London. I went to the supermarket or something, and people were like chasing after. I mean, literally overnight, having appeared in that little box in the room. When
That's what I was going to say. Actually, was it pretty much the same for you when Melanie did?
Yeah, it was
you've been around for a while, and then you did the X Factor, and your life changed overnight. And I thought that you've been around for such a long time, Forbes, and then all of a sudden, bang!
I mean, we used to joke about it. Alan and I used to joke about, you know, the kind of fame, the Scottish fame is, you know, you could be like that and you come to London or go anywhere else, America, nobody knows who you are. You know, we've seen lots of people who are really successful and really famous in Scotland, and it's a great, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic life. And you can be, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter somewhere else. So it was strange to come into EastEnders and then suddenly happening again. I remember after I'd been in EastEnders, going back to Glasgow, walking down Sauchiehall Street, a man walked past me, grabbed my arm and went, "Telly!" He looked at me and went, "Telly!" And then walked away. That was all he said. "Telly!" So that's it. But yeah, so it was odd. When I was in it, I was, as I say, I was quite, I slightly worried about it. But afterwards, it was okay. Once I got out of it, it was, you know, it was another part, it was another role. Albeit it's weird because it's probably it's the most high profile thing you'll ever do is be in a big soap,
sure.
You know.
Yeah, and it's funny, we keep touching back on Laurel and Hardy again, but I know some of the actors from EastEnders, and a lot of them are big Laurel and Hardy fans, but it's the same with Coronation Street, and they keep putting little subtle things in. But one of the biggest Laurel and Hardy fans, in fact, he's in the documentary that I'm doing, is Perry.
Oh, yeah.
Who plays Billy Mitchell. He's a massive Laurel and Hardy fan, and he tries to put it into Billy Mitchell quite a lot with his facial expressions. He does it very subtly, but it's in there, and he talks about that in the documentary. But it's and to come out of EastEnders, you've done a lot of theatre, and obviously you're known unless you've done Shakespearean roles, and that's kind of your thing, isn't it?
Well, what happened was I came out of EastEnders. I met Melanie the year I came out of EastEnders.
Yes.
And then we got together and we started a family. And I kind of wanted, for that period when we were starting a family, I wanted the closest I could get to regular work as an actor.
Yeah.
And I was very, very fortunate in that my mentor, the guy who I'd kind of looked up to when I was at drama school, who used to run the Tron Theatre, Michael Boyd, he suddenly took over the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I'd worked with Michael at the Tron in Glasgow for about a decade, really, doing lots of different things. He picked up Victor and Barry. We put Victor and Barry on at the Tron. I wrote pantomimes for the Tron. I wrote musicals for the Tron. I was in plays with Michael, when I was still in Glasgow. And then when Michael went to the Royal Shakespeare Company, I just thought I really want to work with Michael again. And he had this concept of having what they call a rolling ensemble, which is a group of actors that are in the company and stay from year to year. And I was very fortunate to go from, at the age of 40, into the Royal Shakespeare Company, a place I never thought I'd be into. I never had any interest in doing Shakespeare. I can remember Shakespeare from school being really boring because we had to read it out of books and it never made any sense to me. And then suddenly my eyes were opened at the age of 40 and I was in tragedies, comedies. I stayed, like, the first year was tragedies, second year was comedies. Then there was 2.5 years of what were called the histories. And we did 8 histories plays, the Henrys and the Henry Fifths, and all done by Michael Boyd, who's a genius. And we opened a theatre in Stratford, and Rua came along. My daughter was born then, and then Ramsey came along 2 years later. I was back at the RSC doing another 2 years. Got to go to New York, played Jaques, opened Jaques in New York, singing to audiences in New York, and I had a tremendous time at the Royal Shakespeare Company. I'm now an associate artist there. And the last thing I did there was, to completely the other side of it and into Melanie's world, was a Robbie Williams musical. I did The Boy in the Dress. This time last year, we were just about to open, and it was David Walliams' book. Mark Ravenhill wrote the script, and Guy Chambers and Robbie Williams wrote the music. I played fantastic part of Mr.
That was
Hawtrey,
amazing.
who's this really horrible teacher, and then he's revealed as something different at the end of the show, and it was a massive hit. It's a fantastic musical, so much soul, so brilliant thing. And we were actually, this moment in time, we were supposed to be in the Savoy Theatre in the West End, but because of this nasty virus, everything's been put on hold. But again, what was so great about that, it was like all the stuff of doing Laurel and Hardy, of doing Victor and Barry, of doing the pantomimes at the Tron, of doing all the various things that I've done in my career, and Shakespeare and all this, all grouped together in this big new musical, to get the chance to play an original character in an original musical on such a great grand scale was just thrilling. It was just the best thing ever.
And I have to say, it was absolutely, it was everything Forbes said. It was just a beautiful piece of musical theatre. It had so much heart and soul, and Forbes stole the show.
Oh,
he stole the show. That part.
It's a great part. It's a great part.
Yeah, but it's only a good part if you play it well. If it's played well. But I mean, and he got
a compliment. Take the compliment.
Take the compliment, exactly.
But
take the compliment. But he had these two show-stopping numbers, and it was just there was nobody else who played that part.
So I can't wait. We're hopefully once this is all over, we're going to tour it and get it into the West End. I'd love to bring it to Scotland. I can't wait to get it into the West End. But I've been really fortunate in my career. I've done, I've done so many interesting things with so many amazing people. I've been in this room. I've got posters of all the amazing people I've worked with. James McAvoy, Tom Hollander, Kit Harington, loads of people that I've worked with, and exciting people that I've got to work with, Alan Cumming, and all these things, and lots of different things. And I'm really lucky that, it's still happening. I'm still carrying on. The main thing is to write. I want to write again, though. I'm taking a leaf out of Melanie's book. What's so great about Melanie doing all this in a row? And it's reminding me of, I had a real purple patch in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was writing a lot of stuff in Scotland. I was writing musicals. I'd written The High Life with Alan, and then I wrote about 3 musicals, 4 pantomimes. I just was like, and it was the best bit of my career because I had control over it and I was expressing myself. And I had great plans when I went to the Royal Shakespeare Company to create something there. But the workload, the acting workload was so heavy, there was just never any time. I'd kind of hoped in lockdown that I would, suddenly become this writer. But, for everyone, lockdown's been a weird experience for lots of different reasons.
But we have been singing by the bins every week. Yeah.
It's just starting to happen. What we did do in lockdown is, I'm ranting on now, but what we did do, I've just had a coffee. We did this amazing thing in lockdown. It started on VE Day. We thought we'd go out and sing for the neighbours. And so we sang with a wee microphone.
Oh, I was watching those, of course. I saw the videos.
And then we thought, well, no, this is going to go well. So we got a bigger speaker. We borrowed one from Simone Labib, actually. Mm-hmm. And we just got dressed up and we went outside our front garden and just sang. I had a disco, socially distanced disco. All our neighbours came out. Loads of neighbours we didn't really know that well because it's London, and London can be a bit. But suddenly we have this community. We've all looked after each other in lockdown, and we've been showing off and singing and da-di-da-di-da. And then we've started to do a bit more on Facebook.
Yes,
and because we were following May and Robert Miller, we really love them.
Oh,
we've been watching them on
Have you seen
Facebook.
May and Robert?
I love them.
Yes, love them.
And so we thought we'd try and take a leaf out of their book and do a bit of that. So there's going to be more of that. I think we're going to do more of that sort of.
And we did
streaming stuff.
We did a real kind of like a real kind of X Factor theme. Every week was a different theme. So we started with 70s disco, and then we did 80s, 90s. We did GAY.
I've been watching these as well. I've been watching some of these broadcasts that you've been doing as well, and I think it's brilliant. I think that is definitely what we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the coming weeks and months, is people doing a lot more of these live streams. Because people are getting more aware of how the difficult thing about doing them was, if you were doing cover versions using backing tracks, for instance, then there was the copyright issues and stuff with live streaming. Then there was the sound quality, isn't there? It's difficult to, but now there's so many ways you can get studio quality in a live stream. For guys like yourself, Melanie, and Forbes, it's brilliant when you're doing. I think it's great to see you guys doing what you're doing. You both had careers early on in your lives, before you knew each other, successful careers. You've then had these second amazing careers again, this blossom, and then you've met each other, you fell in love, which is another story. And quickly, just before we wind it up, quickly, Melanie, tell us about you guys and that meeting and how you fell in love, because it was sort of love at first sight, wasn't it? It's just...
It's all Simone Labib's fault, really. So Simone Labib is my girl. We went to drama school together and moved to London at the same time and been through everything together. And she was in this amazing Channel 4 series with Forbes called Young Person's Guide to Being a Rock Star, which was hilarious. And
On
Forbes
Channel
played
4,
this
it's on
Channel 4. Oh,
All
actually, it's on Channel 4 now.
It's
Anyway,
on all 4.
so he played this manager. It was hysterical. I didn't know him back in the days because I moved down to London straight after drama school. So I missed a lot of stuff with the Victor and Barry and all that.
Okay.
Anyway, so it was Simone's birthday. And she had, so we'd organised this birthday for Notting Hill, and the cast of Young Person's Guide was there. And I went in and I was sat talking to someone behind me was Forbes, and I turned around and he turned around and he went, "Hi," like that. And I was like, "Hi." And we just didn't stop talking all night. And I remember saying to Simone, "Who is that? He's lovely." And she went, "Oh, that's Forbes. He's really nice, lovely." I was like, okay. Anyway, I went off on tour. I was in a show called Little Voice, you know, the Rise and Fall of Little Voice. It's the Jim Cartwright. It was Jane Horrocks did it originally.
Oh yeah, Jane Horrocks, yeah.
And I played that part, which was amazing. I went off to do that. You went off to do Eastenders. Then I did a musical at the Palladium. So we kind of vaguely text. And then we finally got together, came to see the show at the Palladium in December. He asked me out the next day for coffee, and I walked in. You for coffee. So I walked in and I looked at him and thought, I'm going to marry him.
Oh!
And apparently he looked at me and went,
"Oh,
that's my baby." And then we were inseparable from that night on.
And how long ago would that have been now?
That was no, but it was in December. What's it? December. That was December 2000. So in December this year we will be together 20
together now
for
for
20 years, but married for 16.
To anybody watching this, just look at this pair. 20 years together.
No!
Yeah, honestly, I'm so jealous and so envious that I love that you are so good together, so compatible. Both of you are great guys individually, and both talented. And what a family! Are the kids going to get into the business? Now, by the way, I have to mention this because it's not as if anybody hasn't noticed, but you're kind of a redhead family, aren't you?
Yes,
we are. Yeah.
But what impressed me is even the dog.
Yeah.
Well, even the dog and the hamster.
And the cat.
And the cat is ginger.
No, like,
and we have a snake.
We have a snake as well.
We have a snake that's red. So most things in our house are red. Yes.
Ginger power. Ginger power.
Ginger power. So are the kids, are they interested in the entertainment side of the business?
I'm afraid so.
Yes.
So our daughter has done a lot of theatre, but she was in Johnny English with Ron Atkinson. She was in that movie. And Ramsey, our little boy, he's on his 3rd West End show. In fact, he was in a show.
I just says, are the kids into entertainment? I'm thinking like maybe doing parties and stuff. Yeah, the daughter was in Johnny English, and my son's been in 3 West End shows. Wow!
I know. He was in a show, Tom Stoppard play called Leopoldstadt, which was on the Lyric. Was it Lyric? No,
the Wyndham.
The Wyndham Theatre.
I had no idea.
That obviously. That's been running up through until July, but obviously in March that stopped as well.
Showing the picture of Ramsey in his show over here.
Yeah, I could do, but yeah, I mean they just love it. That was a different show. That was a show called Fun Home that he was in at the Young Vic, which was that was 2 years ago. But you know, we've said to them from an early age, you know, a doctor is a fabulous career.
Yeah.
So was a lawyer.
Yeah, I said that to Mars.
At 4 years old,
Son.
Our doctor said to us, "Mummy, please let me do it. I have to do it." And Ramsey's just like, "Can I have an agent now?" So what can you do? What can you do?
I'm kind of weird because of because I know what the career is like, and it's the most amazing life. It's the most, as I said, it's great because you have a wonderful life. You meet so many different people, and amazing adventures. But it has highs and it has lows, and it's a really, really tough profession. It's a vocation. You have to want to do it. So, you know, I'm not in any way, neither of us are in any way going push, 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 push.
Quite the opposite.
No, we're not doing that. What's good about it, though, I think, is for their confidence. I think it's really good for them. I was encouraging them to go to auditions and do drama and stuff because the arts, that's why I'm involved in it, but I so believe that we need the arts in our lives. It's not a luxury. It helps you in so many different areas in your life: mental health, confidence, being able to just formulate ideas in your head. And that's why I love the fact that our kids are really in tune with that. And you know, no matter what their other talents lie in, they've got this ability and they've got this. They can just stand up in front of people and do things. You know, sing or talk.
And to us, that
which is a talent.
Good, it's confidence and having that inner strength and inner belief and that foundation. I think that can, whatever they decide to do in the future, they will always have that.
But they've grown up with that. They've grown up with us. They've grown up with other actors. You know, and actors are that sort of world, like at the RSC, is a tremendous world for kids growing up.
And they've been on tour with me. I mean, one of the luxuries of doing something like the X Factor, which you can take or leave, but for the people that like it, if you're doing something and you've got that kind of blah 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 from The Voice, Love Island, X Factor, it does afford you some luxuries. And one of the main things, especially when they were young, was for me to be able to at least ask the question, can I bring the kids with me? Because that is dependent on whether or not I do it. When they were young and when they were so little, and I didn't want to be apart from them, or, you know, and I just didn't want to do that. Oh,
he's gone.
He's back.
I'm back. Sorry.
You're like, put the money in the meter.
Yeah, put a shilling in the meter. But to be able to say, it's all right if I bring the kids with me, and for them to say, oh yeah, we'll make it work. That was everything. That was everything, and that was another reason as well. Because I had done a panto where the kids were with me, and then the next panto was really, really hard, and I just thought, I'm not going to be apart from them. So
we worked with this amazing director, a young director who was one of Michael's protégés, a guy called Michael Fentiman, and he directed Melanie in a couple of pantomimes, and he was the proponent of allowing Melanie to have the kids in the dressing room, have nannies in there, and so that we were part of the family. And he's been really revolutionary. He did a show in the West End, and he got a girl who just had a baby, and which she was in, and had the nanny in the room. So he's made a lot of changes, helped to make a lot of changes in theatre. Because that's how it used to be, you know, kids were it's all health and safety stuff, which you understand, you know, but it used to be that families were all together, they'd tour all together, born in a trunk, you know, that was
that's my family, my life.
You know? So, and it's a great, you know, it's a great way for kids to grow up. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yes.
Following in the footsteps.
Long may it continue, and I hope they do continue. And if they've got half the success that you guys have got, they're going to be terrific. But Melanie, for you at the moment, all I can say is good luck again with the single. I'll be watching it for it. I'll share it on all my pages, and everyone else out there watching. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, make sure you look up Melanie's new single and get it shared, and you can download it as well.
Download it for 17.
Yeah, so good luck. And
why don't you love me, Melanie Masson?
Brilliant, and let's get it to the top of the charts. Let's get it to the top of the internet charts, and
that would be amazing.
Are you going to be releasing more from the album? More singles?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Yeah, now I've kind of I've done the scary bit that I like I said, never thought I would do this all myself. Now I'm just like, let's go, let's keep doing, keep putting music out. It's just been joyous, and I'm really excited. This Saturday I'm playing at GAY in London, which is an amazing venue. So I'm doing that there as well. But yeah, I've got loads of material. I've got loads of great songs, all in the same kind of vein. With that sort of soul sound, really authentic, and also, you know, to speak to an audience of women like me, not just women, but I've got my woman power on, but you know, for all ages, of course, but you know, there's a certain demographic that are really overlooked. You know, there's a certain group of people that I want to hear music from, people that I identify with, that I relate to. Do you know what I mean? So I want to touch those people as well, that are kind of overlooked or forgotten about, or made to feel invisible. You know, that I'm singing about you, I'm singing for you, you know, we're in this together, you know. So there's lots to come. Oh, and listen, congratulations.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think it's a very uplifting song, and it's come at the right time, and I hope it's not too long before we can get to see you guys back on the stage again.
Yeah, that would be lovely. You froze now. Can you
At some
still
point we'll get you on stage.
Oh, gone away again.
Oh yeah, I can still hear you. We seem to be having a little bit of trouble with the internet connection tonight. As long as you can still hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can still hear you. I just wanted to say thanks so much and congratulations to you, because you're doing amazing, and everything that you're doing as well. I mean, you've got an amazing career, and everything you're doing is really, you know, it's brilliant. We follow what you do as well, so it's so lovely for us to be on your show. So thanks so much for having us.
You're so positive, Ross. It's great. It's really, really good.
Well, thanks very much, guys, and hopefully we'll get you guys to next time when you're back in Scotland. When this is all over, we'll get a chat with you on stage and do this properly. But thank you so much for joining us. Love to you and the kids, and best of luck again with the signal. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
You too, darling. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody watching again on YouTube, Facebook, or on Twitter, wherever you're watching from, or you may be watching this later on. If it's a wee bit jumpy at bits, stick with it. Because don't worry, there's some great stuff in there, some great stories from the guys. Until the next time, thanks for watching. This is the Ross Owen Show, saying good night to Melanie. And by the way, I have to say, is Rusty still around? Is he locked in a cupboard?
Calm down.
He's calmed down. I think he's gone to sleep now.
All right, okay. I was going to get. He appeared at the beginning of the show, but to Melanie.
Rusty, come on, come here. Where's that good boy? Come on, Rusty, come here. Where's my boo-boo? Where's the little boy? He's our third child, Rusty. He's a baby.
There he is.
What's your matter? We woke him up.
Oh.
I'm sitting mummy's knee.
The second most famous Rusty since Glenn Michael's Cartoon Cavalcade.
Oh,
I forgot.
Do you remember that?
Victor and Barry.
That was my very first ever claim to fame. I was on the Glenn Michael Cartoon Cavalcade.
Victor and Barry were on it. Victor and Barry were on it once.
You guys were on it as well. And he's
Victor
still. And Glenn Michael is still going. He's in his 90s now. He's still going.
Oh my God.
He looks exactly the same.
I wrote to Glenn Michael so many times. I was desperate to be on that show.
Oh, there's hope. You never know. You never know these days. He might come back. You never know. There's Engelbert Humperdinck's doing live streams.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Paladin's in the back. I see. Listen, guys, thanks again, and thanks to everybody who joined us in the Zoom as well. And we'll catch up with you guys soon. But do take care, and then good luck again with the single, Melanie.
Thank you, darling. Thanks, Ross.
Cheers, guys. See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye. As Stan Ollie would say, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.